Hundreds are dead after a devastating earthquake and tsunami rock northern Japan.
We speak to someone on the ground in Tokyo to find out how they are coping with the aftermath. Humber News starts right now.
Hello, it's Friday, March 11th. Welcome to Humber News, coming to you from the Broadcast Center here at the North Campus. I'm Miranda Anthesel. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Kathleen Paroff. Ahead on our show, we have all your news, sports, and entertainment highlights, as well as your 5-day weather forecast. But first, Miranda has our top story.
The fifth strongest earthquake worldwide since 1900 hit Japan today, leaving enormous devastation and an uncertain death toll. Most recent reports say hundreds of bodies have been found and countless numbers of people are missing. The quake ravaged Sendai City, the largest major city in northeastern Japan. Other cities and villages located over 2,000 kilometers off the east coast were also affected by the powerful tremors. The Associated Press says the quake hit around 2:46 p.m. Tokyo time. The quake triggered a 23-foot tsunami wave sweeping the east coast, engulfing cars, large boats, and houses. Shrouds of debris consumed large rural areas, while fires broke out amidst the destruction. The International Atomic Energy Agency says 4 nuclear plants in Japan have been shut down after fires broke out. There have been reports of a possible release of radioactive vapor, causing 3,000 residents to evacuate the town of Okoma. It's the 7th strongest quake that's ever been recorded in history. It had an estimated magnitude of 8.9, and there have been more than 50 aftershocks with magnitudes of upward to 7.1.
Humber News reporter Heather Alford spoke on the phone earlier today with Hiro Kumagai, a former Toronto resident and student now living in Tokyo, which is located approximately 350 kilometers away from the epicenter of the quake. He tells us what the situation is like on the ground in Japan.
I'm in Tokyo, probably about 20-30 minute train ride away from, the main city's main area. I was home by myself and I started shaking. Went on for it felt like forever, but maybe a minute and a half. It was just shaking. The Tokyo Tower the top part is bent. I guess they have an antenna that's bent. We're having massive fires up north. Tokyo too, we had some fires, nothing major. We're still getting shocks. We're still getting earthquakes right now. Minor ones. Probably had about 15, 20 today.
The most recent reports say aftershocks continue in Tokyo. The 10-meter wave that struck the city sparked fires, and many commuters had to walk home as trains were not running. The major airport, about an hour outside of Tokyo in Narita, has just opened to some outbound flights.
As news came in from Japan, the worry about relatives and friends there and in other areas hit people in the Humber community. Humber News reporter Emery Johnston has the details.
An earthquake devastated Japan's east coast this morning and triggered tsunamis that have hit Hawaii and may be heading towards BC and other regions. Students here at Humber are concerned for the people who may be in these regions.
Some of my friends is living there and working there, but I also cannot contact them.
Director of the International Center, Diane Simpson, says her heart goes out to the people affected. She says the center is providing support for students who may need it.
A 10 stay at home for us. We've been in contact with all our other students here from Japan and are monitoring the situation in terms of other regions that are being affected by the tsunami. We want to make sure that our students get in contact with any friends and families.
Anyone with friends or family in Japan who they are unable to contact can try using the Google Person Finder. You can also contact Foreign Affairs and International Trade Canada. For those who want to help with relief efforts, the Canadian Red Cross is encouraging people to donate by visiting their website at www.redcross.ca/helpnow, or you can call 1-800-418-1111. Emery Johnston, Humber News.
A tsunami warning was issued for Hawaii earlier today. Many coastal residents were sent to community centers and schools, while tourists were moved to higher floors of hotels. The islands of Kauai and Oahu recorded 3-foot waves, while waves that hit Maui were as high as 6 feet. Officials warned that the waves will continue, but any significant damage is likely over. Meanwhile, Canadians on the west coast had a scare as a tsunami advisory was also issued for the coast of British Columbia. Parts of BC's coastline saw water levels rise as much as a meter, but no damage was reported, and the advisory has since been lifted.
Air Canada, among other major airlines, have canceled all flights to Tokyo. Meanwhile, some flights to Hawaii, but not all, have been canceled. In Toronto, today is one of the busiest days of the year at Pearson International Airport because of March break. Authorities say they are expecting over 100,000 travelers to pass through the gates. A typical day is usually around 87,000. To keep the crowd happy, Pearson has partnered with the Juno Awards, and there will be past nominees performing at Terminal 1 this afternoon, including the Bee's Knees and Chris McCool.
And in other travel news, travel deal websites are calling this the worst year for bargain flights in a decade. Rising oil prices have caused airlines to charge up to $60 more per ticket. Also to blame is the reduced total number of flights due to the recession and increased demand due to the now improving economy.
In Toronto, those planning to take the subway this weekend should know that there are a couple of closures to keep in mind. Both are taking place on the Spadina line due to construction work on an extension to York University. The first closure is between Wilson and Downsview from 6 a.m. Saturday until 6 a.m. Monday. And on Sunday, there won't be any service between St. George and St. Clair West stations until 2 p.m. Shuttle buses will be going between the affected stations, and the closures will not affect the Bloor-Danforth line.
When we come back, we'll have more news from around the country and the world. Tom Yanni will have the sports news, and we'll have your weather forecast with Sarah Jacob.
Well, it's still raining. I'll have your weather outlook for the weekend and your 5-day right after the break.